The waters, the weakness, and the wine. A contemplative, non dual take on the story of Noah and the ark. There was a time when the most captivating part of Noah's ark was the logistical absurdity of it all. How could anyone fit every species onto one boat? How did he find a pair of snow leopards if he was somewhere near Mesopotamia? Did he go on a divine scavenger hunt for kangaroos? Was there really room for the insects, the microbes, the elephants, the entire symphony of living things? And if we take it literally, we're left sorting through the rubble of impossible questions, like geological contradictions, historical gymnastics, textual borrowings. After all, the Epic of Gilgamesh, so much older than Genesis, tells its flood story with strikingly similar bones. It talks about the divine warning, the building of a great vessel, animals paired and gathered, the dove sent out to find dry land, the eventual resting on a mountain. The debates were, for a time, delicious for me, but ultimately they were exhausting. So, from my experience, something remarkable happens when those arguments lose their flavor. When the mind, weary from sorting truth from fiction, right from wrong, history or non history, when it grows silent. And so, in the stillness beneath belief and disbelief, the story reveals another nature entirely. It becomes less a question of history and more a reflection of what's happening inside us right now. It becomes a sacred metaphor. This story becomes a map of dissolution, a story of return, wonder, and ponder. What if the flood is not about water at all, but about the great unmasking, the collapse of egoic identity when the structures of self begin to rot beneath their own weight? What if the ark is not a ship, but the quiet, indestructible refuge of awareness? What if the animals are symbols of all our inner opposites, invited not to be tamed or chosen between, but brought aboard altogether? And what if the voice that spoke to Noah wasn't coming from the sky, but from the silent depth within? Seen this way, the story doesn't belong to a past world or ancient lineage. It belongs to consciousness itself. It belongs to you. So let us then enter this mythic story, not as archaeologists digging for facts, but as travelers through symbol. As I set aside the impulse to prove or disprove, and instead open us up to the mirror that this narrative quietly holds. Through the lens of non duality, Noah's Ark becomes a living parable of undoing, of abiding, and of awakening. It tells of the flood that comes for all of us, a story that's not of destruction, but of a clearing up of the illusion that we were never ever separate from the sky, the sea, or the self that carries us through them both. So, we can look at even the name Noah through a quick Google search. The name is said to mean peaceful or stillness in its masculine form. And in the feminine form, it connotes motion, a clear dualistic paradigm just by the name. So, if I could interpret the symbol of Noah himself as the personal self, the individual character that plays with the world in the world, Noah embarks on a journey to build an ark that, in the reverse sense, only denotes awareness itself. Awareness being the unshakable container of all appearances. It doesn't rescue Noah, is in fact Noah's true nature. The ark engulfs all the animals being all expressions of duality, opposites in pairs, male and female, predator and prey. Now they're preserved within the field of awareness. not destroyed, but transcended and included. So this reminds me of chapter 42 of the Tao Te Ching, where it says, the Tao gives birth to one gives birth to two, two gives birth to three, three gives birth to the 10,000 things. The Tao, the nameless, gives form to the two, that's polarity or duality. The two becomes three, a harmonizing force of earth, heaven, and humanity. That's what some interpretations would give that as. And the three birth 10,000 things. Now, the 10,000 things being the shorthand for all phenomena or all things. And so there was a flood that destroyed the earth. Or you could read that as the dissolution of form, identity, and all grasped structures. This flood, which lasts 40 days, a clear symbol of the full cycle of transformation from scriptural narrative. Look at the 40 days that Moses spent on Sinai, or the 40 years of the Israelites in the wilderness, or Elijah's journey to Horeb, or even Jesus fasting in the wilderness. It was all 40 days. To me, it's just clearly a symbol of completeness or of a cycle. So for any Jungian enthusiast, you can also relate 40. That 40 represents the symbolic gestation period, which is 40 weeks of human pregnancy. And so, in this 40 days for Noah and his family, a past collapses. There's no longer an old world, and there's not yet a new world. In Dzogchen or Zen terms, it's Bardo, between two things. So in this collapse, it's clear that nothing is in anyone's control. The ark has no steering, no horizon, nor does not navigate anywhere. He totally surrenders. There's no longer any effort in, but an abidance. And in this full cycle, this 40 days of nothing, there's an inner flood of undoing, an abiding in the arc of awareness, the waking up to newness, the getting high in the abidance of that which is greater than the identification with form, until there's a need to be embodied. And so the flood ends. Awareness has seen through illusion. The egoic structures are gone, but clarity hasn't stabilized yet. One floats in the quiet unknown. There's just patience while there's still wetness and no ground. Still a surrender to the pace of being. And so Noah sends a raven to find out if there is land anywhere. And the raven flies back and forth as the restless mind until it returns not. Moses then sends the dove, the sign of peace that returns with an olive leaf. Were thoughts still grasping, or was silence now yielding to harmony of life as it is? Could those be the symbols? So Noah waits for dry land choicelessly as land takes form, as the newness of life emerges, as embodiment becomes gradual. And so it is clear, old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. Noah, the symbol of the identified embodied self, is brought to land to function as man, to live as man. And we're able to see that awakening doesn't perfect the individual, but exposes the person as unreal. Noah gets drunk, naked, and exposed. Oh, the subtle hints at the failure of a God that destroyed the earth because of the imperfection of man. Maybe his nakedness was truth without persona. Maybe the wine he drank was the mystery of form re-entering awareness. And so Ham, one of Noah's sons, sees Noah's nakedness and tells others. The mind reacting to raw being with judgment and shame. They cover up Noah the way the mind tries to reclothe mystery in concepts. Haven't you seen that the ego recoils from things it cannot contain? And so the story goes on. Oh, what about those who did not enter the ark because of their unbelief? Why would we blame them? Why would we judge them? I would not enter a freaking boat because some guy tells me the whole world is going to be destroyed except I follow him into the boat with loads of animals. Maybe those individuals are just a representation of consciousness that still clings to form, identity, and separation. Their death is the falling away of untruth, like waves dissolving back into the ocean. Oh, illusion doesn't really die, it only fails to hold reality. In discovering the illusion of form and duality, our true essence, unbothered by the storms of life, engulfed in awareness as awareness, the separate created identity of our knower self, this story can be a contemplative jewel. And so here are prompts for you. What in me is being dismantled by life right now? What do I still try to keep afloat that wants to sink? Where's the part of me that never panicked, even in the storm? Am I willing to wait without resolution, to surrender without anchor? Can I trust the waters to recede on their own? What inner signal tells me it's time to step out again? What parts of me are exposed after transformation? Can I let myself be seen even without spiritual performance? What in me still resists the arc, still fights surrender? Do I judge those parts or can I meet them as awareness too?